Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So inshallah we will start tonight's program with the recitation of the Quran by some of the children of our community in Jannah. So who wants to go first? What's your name? Anam. Anam is going to recite some Quran, inshallah. Have a seat.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Anam. Today I am going to recite Surah Ramadan. الذي جمع ماله وعدده يحسب أن ماله أخلده كلا لينبذن في الحطمة وما أدراك ما الحطمة نار الله الموقدة التي تطلع على الأفئدة إنها عليهم معصدة في أمد ممددة صدق الله العظيم.
ما شاء الله.
ما شاء الله. Takbir. Who's going to read next? You want to read next?
Sobra.
What's your name?
Say your name loudly and then you can start.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Madar Sabura Shahjahan and I will be reciting Surah Balad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا أقسم بهذا البلد وأنت حل بهذا البلد ووالد وما ولد لقد خلقنا الإنسان في كبد أيحسب أن يرى ألم نجعل له عينين ولسانه وشفتين وهديناه النجدين فلاقتحم العقبة وما أدراك ما العقبة نار الله ممددة.
MashaAllah, takbir. Who wants to go next? Is going to go next? MashaAllah, MashaAllah. We have another recitation, MashaAllah, by someone who's very, very young.
She's the first person.
First time. Don't worry, MashaAllah.
Good job.
Which surah do you know? Do you memorize Surah Fatiha? Surah Fatiha. Oh, mashallah.
I'll hold on.
Okay, we'll call her back inshallah. So who wants to go next? Another mashallah. Come, mashallah. Come, you want to recite? Okay, we have anyone else who wants to recite? Anyone else? Any of the boys wants to recite? Any boys that want? What's your name? Abu Bakr, mashallah. Have a seat, Abu Bakr. Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
My name is Abu Bakr. So I'm going to be reading Qashia. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هل أتاك حديث الغاشية وجوه يومئذ خاشعة عاملة ناصبة تصلى نارا حامية تسقى من عين عالية ليس لهم طعام إلا من ضريع لا يسمن ولا يغني من جوع وجوه يومئذ ناعمة لسعيها راضية في جنة عالية لا تصلح فيها لاقية فيها عين جارية فيها سور مرفوعة وأكواب موضوعة ونمارق مصفوفة وصرابيل مبثوثة أفلا ينظرون إلى الإبل كيف خلقت وإلى السماء كيف رفعت وإلى الجبال كيف سطحت فذكر إنما أنت مذكر لست عليهم بمسيطر إلا من تولى وكفر ويعذبه الله العذاب الأكبر إن إلينا إيابهم ثم إن علينا حسابهم.
MashaAllah, takbir. Abu Bakr is one day we can have the Quran. Say Ameen. Inshallah. Come. What's your name?
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
My name is Amira. I'm gonna recite Surah Al-Duha. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا هدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنهر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث.
MashaAllah, takbir. Anyone else want to recite? Any of the boys or the girls? You want to recite? Come. MashaAllah, come here. See, you did it.
I'm gonna be reading Surah Fatiha. Alhamdulillah, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah, يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم.
Six and a half. Takbir. MashaAllah. Okay. Do we have any other youngsters? Child, you want to read? Come quickly, MashaAllah. We also read. All right, you're next. Okay, after. Come, have a seat. Have a seat.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
My name is Davishef. Surah Allah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. تبت يدا أبي وتب ما أغنى عنه ماله وما كسب سيصلى نارا ذات لهب وامرأته حمالة الحطب في جيدها حبل من مسد.
ما شاء الله. Five, MashaAllah, takbir. MashaAllah, great job.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Hudson.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
Alhamdulillah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا.
Takbir. Anyone else? You have to raise your hand, okay? If you want to read, you have to raise your hand. Who's? Come. Who? Oh, she's left, yes. No, where's that girl? What's her name?
She will come back.
She come back. Come. You have to see. What's your name? Muhammad, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mahdi.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
I'm going to be reciting Surah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل يا أيها الكافرون لا أعبد ما تعبدون ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد ولا أنا عابد ما عبدتم ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد لكم دينكم ولي دين.
Takbir. Yes, we got the dream. Like so, make him also happy with the Quran. Yes, anyone else? Oh, yeah, come.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
My name is Kareem. I will be reciting Surah Al-Zab. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها وأخرجت الأرض أثقالها وقال الإنسان ما لها يومئذ تحدث أخبارها بأن ربك أوحى لها يومئذ يصدر الناس أشتاتا ليروا أعمالهم ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يره. صدق الله العظيم.
ما شاء الله.
ما شاء الله. Takbir. He said, فَمَن يَعْمَلْ نَفْسَ إِلْغَامْرُ. So he did very nicely, mashallah. Anyone else wants to go? Any boy or any girl? You have to raise your hands, okay? Anyone wants to go? Raise your hands high so I can see it. Who else wants to go? You're making mashwara? Who wants to go? Who wants to go? Raise your hand. Come on, be courageous. Come forward. Raise your hand, don't hide. You want to try? Someone in the back? No? What about you, boys? You just walked in. You guys want to try? You say some fun? Oh, okay. Okay, inshallah. Let's start.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Inshallah, we are going to start our program. So, our scholar is Mufti Ubaidullah Awal. Just a little bit background about him. Completed his in Trenton, New Jersey in 1997. He then traveled to multiple countries to higher Islamic education and completed his Almiya course in 2007. He then completed O and A levels under the British Council of Economics. Then in 2014, he completed his IFTA course. He attended various workshops on the Maktab Islamic Studies, a program from countries where a strong program existed for the youth such as UK, South America, South Africa, Sri Lanka, India, Bangladesh. Inshallah, from 2015, he has been coordinating with and providing support to hundreds of masajid, Islamic centers, and communities of the USA and globally to establish successful educational program for our youth. He is director of Neshwa. And also in our masajid, we are also running his curriculum. He is the director of the Neshwa and also he designed the course. So inshallah, today's topic is raising our children in USA in Islamic values. Inshallah, he is going to talk. Inshallah, you have any question. And also we are going to ask how we can improve here educational programs for our youth. So inshallah, we can do some improvement.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, towards the end of the program, we want to listen to Surah Duha by that Syrian girl, inshallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم سبحانك لا فهم لنا إلا ما فهمتنا إنك أنت الجواد الكريم. Since we have many youth, I want to start my program by saying a story that is for our youth. So, our youth, they like to play video games. And in the video games, you have something called the cheat code. So, if I was to ask you, brothers, what is the cheat code, many of you would not be able to answer. But every single youngster here knows what I'm talking about. So, the video games have lots of levels. The cheat code is some type of a programming which can open all the doors of all the levels. So, you complete one level and you can reach level 100. That is called the cheat code. So, my dear young brothers and sisters, I want to tell you guys a cheat code that will be beneficial to you throughout your life, actual life, not a video game, okay? So we call it the cheat code of life. That cheat code I'm going to explain to you using a story. I want you to listen to it very carefully, okay? So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sent many prophets, correct? And the first human was the first prophet. What was his name? Prophet Adam alayhi salam. Then we also know there was also another prophet, very famous. His name was Musa alayhi salam. You guys heard of Musa alayhi salam? So Musa alayhi salam was one tough prophet. He was real tough. One day, two people were arguing, and one of them asked him for help. He turned to the other guy, and he kind of slapped him. That's it. He gave him one slap, and that slap took the person into the grave. You get it? So it's kind of tough. So you have to be Muhammad Ali or someone tougher, knock someone out from the world with one punch, right? So that's how tough he was, really tough prophet. We call him a tough prophet, mashallah. But he had one speciality that he would have conversations with Allah. So he was known as Musa Kalimullah. So he was a very high-ranking prophet. And we all know, right, that Allah Ta'ala has created something called Jannah. You guys heard about Jannah? Jannah is like the garden in our backyard, right? Yeah? Actually, Jannah is a little different than our backyard, okay? You know how different it is? You see, in our backyard, we have one tree, right? The tree is maybe, how tall is the tree? Maybe 3 floors? Maybe 4 floors, right? Not taller than that. You see, in Jannah, your backyard is going to be so big that one tree in Jannah, do you know how big the one tree in Jannah is? If you took a Ferrari and you drove for 100 years, you drove for how many years? You drove for 100 years in a Ferrari. That's a Ferrari, right? You guys know it's a Ferrari? Come on, you guys play GTA, you know. Yeah, it's a Ferrari. So you put a Ferrari, you floor the gas, and you ride for 100 years, how far you can go? That's how big the shadow of one tree in Jannah is. That's how big the shadow of one tree in Jannah is. So can you imagine how big of a backyard you would have hundreds of those trees? That's Jannah, okay? So in Jannah, Allah Ta'ala has created levels. Just like a video game has levels, Jannah also has levels. Now, the highest levels of Jannah are for the prophets. For the prophets. You know why? Because they came to help other people go into Jannah. Why did they come? They came to help other people get into Jannah. Do you know how the prophets help other people get into Jannah? They help other people by teaching them La ilaha illallah. What did they teach them? La ilaha illallah. So they taught people that listen, you have to fix your belief and you have to believe in one Allah and you have to believe in the Prophet. Then only you can go to Jannah. Because they were busy trying to help people, Allah Ta'ala created the biggest Jannah. Now, let me ask you the question. You guys, where do you live? You live here, Kent? So in your block, the block you live in, how many houses are there? Have you ever counted? Like 3, 4? So the 4 houses, how much would you say average of a house costs here in Kent? $600, right? So plus minus average, all the 4 houses are pretty much the same value, plus minus, yeah. So you see, so the highest Jannah belongs to the prophets, right? So imagine if someone was a neighbor of a prophet, what type of Jannah you would get? Just like your neighbor's house is similar to yours in value, so the prophet's neighbor also has almost as big of a Jannah as a prophet, correct? You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So one day, Prophet Musa alayhi salam, the top prophet, he is speaking to Allah and says, oh Allah, can you do me a favor? Allah said, what do you want? He says, can you show me who is going to be my neighbor in Jannah? What does he say? Can you show me or tell me who will be my neighbor in Jannah? So he was expecting another prophet, right? Because you gotta be a prophet to be a prophet's neighbor, right? But he wasn't expecting the answer Allah Ta'ala gave him. Allah Ta'ala says, you know what? Your neighbor is going to be a butcher. Your neighbor is going to be a butcher. You know who's a butcher? Who's a butcher? Ah, mashallah, he's right. He makes a steak in Mazahir. He's a butcher, right? Yeah, no, he's not a butcher. The butcher is the guy who sells the meat. The guy who makes the steak, he's different. He's a chef, right? So the Prophet is saying, my neighbor in Jannah is a butcher, a person who sells meat. Allah is saying, yeah. So he's wondering that this guy must be super pious. He never sleeps. He's just doing, dhikr and ibadah. This guy is something superhuman. How could a normal guy be a prophet's neighbor in Jannah? But of course, he's not saying it. He's just thinking, right? He says, oh Allah, can you show me where he lives? I want to go and see him. Allah says, no problem. You go to that place, you'll find him. So when he goes there, then he sees the person is opening his store in the morning. And then he takes out his meat, all this big chunk of meat, and he hangs it on the hooks. He has the hooks on his store. But then he does something a little strange. You see, Musa alayhi salam is watching from far. He didn't go up and say, brother of Musa, no. He's far away, he's just watching the guy. So the guy takes out a small bag, and he takes out a very sharp knife. And he starts inspecting the meat. He's inspecting. Whenever he sees a very nice, juicy piece of meat, he cuts a small piece, and he puts it into the bag. After like few minutes, when the bag got full, he put the bag and hid the bag away. Then he started calling the people, hey guys, come, I got fresh meat, and everyone is coming and buying. So Musa is watching him, wondering that, this guy is just selling meat. He doesn't seem like he's doing any dhikr or he's doing a lot of tahajjud salah in the middle of the day, He's just selling meat, like any other meat cutter, like any other butcher. So Musa is watching him the whole day, wondering that this guy is my neighbor in Jannah. How is that even possible? So anyway, when the guy is closing his store, Musa alayhi salam quickly runs to him and says, brother, I come from far away. I'm a traveler and I need a place to stay tonight. Would you be able to host me? Now you have to understand, having a guest in your house is a blessing of Allah. You understand? Why? Because when a guest comes into your house, they come with the mercy of Allah. When they leave your house, they leave with all the problems of your house. So you'll see those people who have lots of guests coming in, you'll see those houses have no problem. Of course, you have to maintain the parada and all the other rules in the house. But you understand, that's very important. If you don't break all the rules of parada, then there is no rahmah, there is no mercy from Allah. You understand? Anyway, so Musa said, brother, the guy is very happy, like, wow, I haven't had a guest in so long. Welcome, brother, come. But Musa didn't tell him his name. He just said, I'm like a regular guy. So he goes to that man's house. That man tells him to sit down, and he says, brother, I have some chores to do. Let me finish my chores and I'll give you as much as time as you want. So he goes inside the room, and suddenly he comes back out. But when he comes back out, he's carrying a large crib. What's it carrying? He's carrying not a small one, a large crib. Now you guys know what's a crib, right? What's a crib? You tell me what's a crib? Yeah, crib is mashallah, is very smart one, mashallah. He has to become a hafiz one day, and alim, inshallah. Say Ameen. Say inshallah. Say inshallah. Inshallah. He said inshallah. Watch. One day Allah will make him alim, inshallah. Inshallah. I'll tell you a story of inshallah in a bit. It's very powerful too, huh? I'll tell you a story. Anyway, let me finish this first one first. So Musa is wondering that this crib is so big. It's not for a baby, it's for something else. What's inside? He looks inside and he finds a very old lady. He finds a very old lady, and she's so old that she has no teeth. Yeah, because there's no dentist in those days. Just like you see, your teeth are growing, right? You see, when you're a baby, then your teeth falls and it grows again. Then the teeth stays for a long time, and then when you grow old again, then the teeth start falling off. So in America, you have dentists, so they put another teeth back on. But in Musa Islam's time, there was no dentist. So you lost your teeth, you lost your teeth. You understand? Anyway. So he's looking at the old lady and he's like, wow, who is she? And then he sees she has no teeth. So, but this man, he takes this old lady in that crib and he takes her to the river. He gives her a very nice bath. He combs her hair. And then he puts a pillow behind her back and he makes her sit down. And then he takes out a bag. Can you tell me which bag he took out? Yes, mashallah, you guys are following. He took out that bag of meat. Remember the meat? In the morning, he took that bag out. Then he built a fire. He cut the meat into small pieces. He started roasting them. When they were roasted, then guess what he did? Huh? To who? But she has no teeth. Oh, how is she going to swallow? She has no teeth. You need. No, that's not a cabinet. That's meat. He doesn't put it, look, he doesn't feed the old lady. He puts it into his own mouth. He puts it into his own mouth and he starts biting. When the meat becomes very, very soft, then he takes it out and puts it into the mouth of the old lady. You see how he fed her? Now that takes dedication, right? Imagine how he's taking care of an old lady. Wow, subhanAllah. Who does that nowadays, huh? So Musa is watching her, but then he sees something even more strange. Every time that man puts that food into the mouth of that old lady is mumbling something. He's like, what is he doing? He's mumbling something. But obviously she has no teeth, so it's very hard to hear what she's saying. So Musa is just watching, and he's like, man, when will this guy finish doing what he's doing? I got to ask him these questions. And he's like curious, wondering what's going on. So anyway, after a while, when the old woman is done eating, then he takes the old woman back into the house and puts her to sleep. Then he comes back outside and he says, yes, brother, tell me, what's up? So Musa says, before I tell you what's up, you tell me what's up. Like, what do you mean? First of all, tell me who was the old lady? What do you guys think? Who was the old lady? Huh? Mom? Mashallah, yes. Mashallah, you're right. The old lady was? His mom, mashallah. So he was like, wow, your mom. So how long have you been taking care of her like this? Tell me, how many years? So you gotta raise your hand first. You can't speak like that. Yes, how many years? How many years? You don't know? Yes. 20, mashallah, close. 30? You're going further away? Yes? Yes? How many years? How many years? Give a number. Huh? 5? Okay, that's a little too low. Yes? 40, that's a little too high. Yes? Yes? 13, that's very close. Yes? 10. Okay. Very hard. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Okay, she's right. It was 10 years. How many years? 10 years. How many years? 10 years he took care of his mother. Now tell me, do you think he took like a weekend vacation? Maybe he just took one Saturday night off? Maybe a Sunday night? No, he never took a single day vacation, because if he took one day vacation, his mother would go hungry. For 10 years, non-stop, every single night, he took care of his mother like this. Now, you guys think you boys can do that? Say inshallah. Inshallah, your mothers will not, burden you like that. But I'm just saying, have that intention. Even though probably you'll never have to do it, but if you have the intention, I'll give you the reward anyway. You understand? That's called a really dedicated son. So you take care of your mother and father like that. Anyway. So Musa Islam was like, wow, brother, you were really, mashallah. Then he says, but tell me, one last question. When you were feeding your mother, I saw her going, she was trying to say something. Can you tell me what she was saying? Now, the adults, please don't say anything. The youngsters, remember, it's a story for the young children. So you young guys, you tell me, what do you think this old woman was saying? Yes. Jazakallah, no. It's a good one, mashallah. Yes. Huh? Which dua? What dua? Jazakallah is also a dua. For a long way, mashallah. It's close, yes. Alhamdulillah, good one. Bismillah, good one. May Allah make you stay hungry. MashaAllah, you tried, MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Allah give you more knowledge of deen. Say Ameen. Yes. Who wants to give it a try? Come on, someone has to get it right. Let me take my money back up. Maybe it'll be easier. Water, no. Yes. That he goes to Jannah, you're very close, but that wasn't the exact dua. Yes, I need to know the exact dua she was making. Yes? Huh? She was making a dua. Yes, what do you say? Alhamdulillah, no, yes. Come here, mashallah. He's right. He's right. He got it. He got a person here. You know what she was saying? She was saying every time he put the morsel in his mother's mouth, she was saying, "Oh Allah, make my son the neighbor of the Prophet in Jannah. Oh Allah, make my son the neighbor of the Prophet where? In Jannah." Now that was a real smart lady. She could have said, "Oh, make him a neighbor of the king, whoever the king was at that time." The guy was probably super rich, right, and powerful. And she was like, "Who cares about the power? One day he'll power someone, tomorrow someone will smack him and take that position." And so she was making dua for Jannah. So how do you think this butcher became the neighbor of a prophet in Jannah? How? Because he cut a lot of meat? No, because of the dua of the mom. Yes, because of the dua of the mom. What's your answer? Yes. Allah Ta'ala always grants your mother's and father's dua. That's what I'm trying to teach you. What is the cheat code? The cheat code is one way of doing it is you work very, very hard. You work 23 hours a day and you sleep for 1 hour. And then one day you become successful. And the other guy, he just works maybe 6-7 hours a day. And he spends time in the masjid, he's doing all the other social work, he's doing da'wah. But he becomes even more successful. Why? Because he has his mother's and father's dua. So if you guys are smart, if you boys and girls are smart, you'll learn to make your parents happy. And once they become happy, they make dua for you from their heart. And Allah Ta'ala takes you through the cheat code of life. Okay? So that was the story I want to tell you guys. Okay. Now, before I move on to the adults, remember I told you I'm going to tell you a story of inshallah. You guys want to hear it? How many of you guys heard of, I don't know if it's Have you guys heard of the word Pathan? Who's a Pathan? Tell me. A guy was 7 feet tall. No, at least 6 foot. Big guy. And he's a man who lives in the mountains. So he's very, very tough. Not a giraffe, no. Giraffes in the zoo. The Pathan is in the mountains. He's a very strong guy. And his Iman is very strong. His Iman is very strong. Anyway, there's a lot of stories of Pathan. There was one Pathan. He goes to Bangladesh for Jamaat, and then he ate a fish, and the fish got stuck. The fish bone got stuck in his throat because he never had fish before. He used to eat meat, right? Like steak, like the one in Kazakh. So he ate fish, so the bone got stuck in his throat. So the doctor said, you know what? We have to do an operation, but we need 6 hours. How many hours? We need 6 hours. So if you want to do an operation, first you got to make the guy fall asleep, right? Have you guys ever seen an operation? You first got to give him the guy medicine, and the guy falls asleep. So the doctor gave him medicine, and he falls asleep and he starts snoring. And then the doctor takes out the bone from his throat. The big bone is so big, fish bone. And then guess what the guy is saying? The guy is saying, while he's sleeping, that Allah says sab kuch hota hai. What is he saying? Allah says sab kuch hota hai. Everything happens from Allah. And he gives a long bayan on the greatness of Allah while he's knocked out. When he wakes up after 6 hours, they say that, brother, what type of, you know that we had an operation? Like, yeah. Like, you know you were sleeping? Like, yeah, I was sleeping. But did you know you gave a nice bayan on the greatness of Allah and you're sleeping? Like, I don't know. So this guy, he used to always tell people, Allah se sab kuch hota hai. Allah is the one who does, Allah is the doer. So much so that he was giving bayan even in his sleep. A real story. There's one Pathan. So anyway, so in the story of Bangladesh, in Bangladesh there was, where is that? How old are you? You, how old are you? Yes? 9. Yeah, let's say about his age. So there was one young boy, his name is Muzammil. What's his name? Muzammil Haq. So he's studying in a madrasa in Bangladesh many years ago, about maybe 50 years ago. And then some of the students of the madrasa, they come to him and tell him, you know what? A Jamaat came, a Pathan Jamaat. They used to call them Pathan. People who were from Afghanistan, in those days they would call them Pathan. I don't know what they call them now, but in those days. So he heard that a Pathan Jamaat came, and he also heard from the people, from his classmates, that these guys are very, very big. So he was wondering that I have never seen a Pathan in my life. I want to see a Pathan. So he he goes to the masjid and he's looking for the Pathan. He's looking for that. Remember the story about inshallah, okay? I want to go there. So don't lose focus. So he says, I'm looking around the whole masjid, I don't find any Pathan. He says, then I go to the wudu area. And then he says, I see the Pathan, big guy. He has his roll full and he's making wudu. So he's like, I have never seen such a big guy in my life. So I'm looking at him, amazed. He's a young guy, he's like him. He's like looking at the guy. So he said that I got so caught up looking at the guy that I didn't even realize he finished his wudu. And then this guy turns around and sees this young boy in the wudu area. So he says that guy came and grabbed my hands. So of course, if a Pathan grabs your hands, there's no way you're getting out of that lock. This guy is too strong. So he's like, I'm trying to take my hand out of the guy's hand, and this guy won't let me go. So the person says in Urdu, Kar le niyat. What did he say? Kar le niyat means what? Make intention. What did he say? Make intention. So the person is thinking that I don't know what intention he wants me to make. So he's pulling, and this guy is saying, make intention. He was wondering that if I don't make intention, this guy won't let me go. So he says, Niyat kar liya. Does he say? Niyat kar liya. What does it mean? He says, okay, I make intention. Then the guy is like, again shakes his hand, says, Nahi, pure alam ke liye. What does he say? Pure alam ke liye. Pure alam ke liye means for the whole world. What does he say? For the whole world. So he's wondering that I don't have enough money to go from the madrasa to my house. That's like real. That in those days was less than a taka, 50 years ago. 1 taka, I think now is 80 or 100, over $1 is over 100 taka. So he really had not even 1 cent in his pocket. And he's thinking that this guy is telling me I have to make intention to travel the whole world for da'wah, and I don't have enough money to go to my house. So he's saying I started struggling harder to get my hand out of his hand. And this guy won't let me go. So he's like, just to save myself and to come out of his grasp, I said, Kar liya, chalo, kar liya. Okay, I've done it. I made intention for the whole world. So he says the story 40 years later. 40 years from that story, it happened 40 years ago, and he's telling the story 40 years later. He told it to me personally. He says that there is not a single continent in the whole world that Allah has not taken me. I have traveled to every continent. You know, how many continents are there in the world? 7. So this man, who didn't have enough money to go to his house, one cents, American cents, he traveled the 7 continents with the name of Allah for da'wah purpose. All because he said inshallah. So you said inshallah, right? Yes, mashallah. MashaAllah. May Allah accept all of you. Say Ameen. And me as well. Say Ameen. Inshallah. For the service of His deen. You guys don't know how powerful you are. Okay? Inshallah. Okay, now I don't have much time because we have to have dinner. So I'm just going to say a few things for your parents, okay? My respected parents, I want to start with one hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ وَإِنَّمَا لِامْرِئٍ مَّا نَوَى. A person will receive according to his intention. A person will receive according to his intention. And when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned this hadith, he mentioned it regarding hijrah. He mentioned it regarding him. You know what hijrah means? Basically, all of us sitting here, besides the kids who were born here, I also was born here, but besides whoever was born here, every one of you is a muhajir. Because you migrated from some country. You came from a Muslim majority country, or you came from a Muslim neighborhood to this part of the world, right? You moved here. So you're all muhajir. And this hadith, even though the ulama says this hadith is in regards to all the a'mal, but when the Prophet ﷺ said this hadith, he said this regarding hijrah. And what did he say? The exact wording of the hadith is, فَمَنْ كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ فَهِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. When a person migrated from one country to another country for the sake of Allah and Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that means to establish the deen of Allah wherever he was going, then what? فَهِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ means that he will get what he intended. That means if he intended Allah and His Rasul, but wherever he goes, he will find Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. However, وَمَنْ كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى دُنْيَا يُصِيبُهَا أَوْ إِمْرَأَةٌ يَنْكِحُهَا فَهِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى مَا هَاجَرَ إِلَيْهِ. If a person, when migrating, his intention was a better life, security, money, social standing, status, comfort, marriage, whatever it was besides Allah and Rasulullah, the hadith says he is going to get exactly what he intended. Now, my respected brothers and sisters, I need you to go back and think that when you came into this country, what was your intention? And think very carefully, did you or did you not get what you had intended? If you did not have a car before today, you have a car. If you did not own a house today, you own a house. If you did not have a bank account today, you have a bank account. If you did not have a job with $70,000, $80,000, $150,000, today you have a job with that kind of money. So did we not get exactly what we intended? Yes, we got exactly what we intended. However, there's a problem here. What is the problem? The problem is, if our intention was deen, then we will also get deen and Islam will also stay in our progeny, in our generation. But if we did not have the intention of deen, then deen will leave either ourselves or our families. And this is the situation in America today. 2014, a survey was done by the Pew Research Center, the PEW, Pew Research Center. They mentioned that 23% of Muslim children born in Muslim immigrants' homes, the Muslim immigrants who came from a Muslim country, 23% children born in Muslim families, they have left Islam. That is an official survey done in 2014. In 2018, they updated the numbers. It was about 25%. And this correlates with a research done by another sister who was the granddaughter of Sheikh Ali Tantawi rahimahullah from Syria. In 50 years ago, his entire family, while they were living in Syria, they received the PR, permanent residency, to move to Canada. Sheikh Ali Tantawi, he called his whole family and he tells them that I do not give any of you permission to go. if you go against my permission. So all his family members, they thought that this old man, stubborn old man, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He just wants to control our lives. That's exactly how they thought him. And no one listened to him. They all came. But as they were leaving, he just told them two things. He said, listen, I know that I educated you enough to the extent that you will never forsake Islam. I know that. But can you guarantee that your children will not leave Islam? And even if you can guarantee your children, can you guarantee your grandchildren will not leave Islam? Then he said, do not become responsible. What did he say? Do not become responsible of Islam losing your bloodline losing Islam. Because look at him. From the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or from the time of Sahaba or Tabi'in, they brought Islam into Syria until Sheikh Ali Tantawi, probably 1300 years. There was no one who left Islam. There was no one who left Islam. Grandfather, great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather, great-great-great-grandfather, all Muslims. No one left Islam. So, Sister Mu'mina was her name. She says that I listened to my father, my grandfather, I'm wondering that man, this guy doesn't know Islam. What does he say? This man doesn't know. Too old, he doesn't understand the world. Who cares where I raise my children? What's important is how I raise them. That's what many of us say. But we say it doesn't matter where you raise them, it matters how you raise them, right? That's what many of us say. So she said, I exactly thought that as I was leaving. She said, it just took me 40 years. How many years? It just took me 40 years. Today, I agree with what my grandfather had said. And do you know why she agreed? She said that one day when she was doing a count of how many of her family members were living in Canada, America, and South America, she said, I found 48 members of my own family, extended family, cousins, relatives. She says that in these 40 years, from the 48 members of my own family in these countries, 16 of them have left the fold of Islam. In her own life, she didn't even die. In her own life. It took only 40 years, my brothers and sisters, only 40 years. 16 out of 48, do the numbers. What is the percentage? That's almost 30%. That's almost 30%. And then she says, when I saw this happening to my own family, I got a little bit worried. So I started doing research on the Muslim families that had migrated from Syria over the last 100 years. Then she says that as I was doing my research, I came across the first alim, the first scholar who had established the first masjid in one of the countries called Ecuador. And she says that Sheikh had come from Syria 1930. When was it? 1930. So that's about 90 years ago. How many years ago? Right? About 90 years ago. 10 years? Yeah. 10 years. Okay. Then she says that when I looked at Ecuador, I found that from that Sheikh's bloodline progeny, not a single person was a Muslim. From that Sheikh's own blood, his own children, grandchildren, 90 years later, there was not a single Muslim. And he had over 80 members of his family there. Children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren. Because every 12 years, you have a new generation, right? It takes 12 years to build a new generation. Then she says that I started doing more research. Then she says that I did research on one specific family. The family was called the Ramadan family. What was it called? The Ramadan family. They were originally from a place called Beirut. It's the capital of Lebanon. Lebanon was also once upon a time majority Muslims. And the Muslims who came from that part of the world, they were all Muslims when they came into South America. She says that as I was doing my research, I found there were 5,000, how many? 5,000 members of the Ramadan family living in this belt, Canada, America, and South America. Then she said that when I started digging into the past and looking at the numbers, she said when I found those who had come 100 years ago, 96% of their offspring had left Islam. How many? 96% of their offspring, means their grandchildren, great-grandchildren, had left Islam, those who came 100 years ago. Then she said those who came 80 years ago, I found out that 75% of their children had left Islam. Those who came 60 years ago, I found 40% of their children had left Islam. And those who came 40 years ago, she said, I found 25% of their children had left Islam. And technically, if you look at America today, the Muslim migration in large numbers started in 1970s. So we are roughly between 40 to 50 years of age when it comes to the bulk majority of the Muslim population of America. So the numbers of the Pew Research, it aligns with the personal research of that sister Mumina has done. And what we ourselves are seeing is from the 70% of our Muslim youth who still call themselves a Muslim, about 50 to 60 or even 70% of them, they have doubts regarding Islam. And it's not doubts that build itself naturally into their minds. It's doubts that people, their school teacher, their friends, from the social media, from anywhere, questions that were thrown at them and they did not have an answer. Neither did they have the clarity to ask someone the answer, because they felt if they ask someone a question, they will judge them. So they don't ask the questions also. Usually the people who they ask the questions are the scholars. So whichever community you have an alim who has good connection with the youth, you can ask them and they will tell you what type of questions the youth have. Because they are the people who the youth come and ask questions. And I'm not going to repeat the question because I don't want anyone Googling the questions. Then you have another problem. The person had no question, now he Googles and now he's confused. It's a very problem. So my respected brothers, you might be wondering that how did this happen? Now let me tell you how it happened. We adults, right? We are adults. In Ramadan, imagine our spiritual condition. What is our spiritual condition in Ramadan? In Ramadan, we work the whole day, right? Because the job doesn't stop. Then we are hungry the whole day because we only ate in Sahri, yes? Ramadan, yeah, Ramadan. MashaAllah, it is right. Ramadan is when we are fasting the whole day and we are working the whole day. Then we have some basic iftar and then we come for Isha. We pray regular Isha and then we pray 20 rakats extra on top of that. When we go home, it's 11, 12, sometimes 1 a.m. in the morning. Then we can sleep for 1.5, 2 hours and we have to wake up for Sahri again. After Sahri and Fajr, then we barely get to sleep and we have to go to work again. So psychologically, a person is supposed to crash. But in Ramadan, we don't crash. Rather, sometimes we gain weight. But we're spiritually very, very live. But if I was to ask you today, that can you do for 1 week, fast the whole day and pray 20 rakats tahajjud salah? You'll do it, maybe one day you'll say, I'll do it, the next day you'll see my feet are paining, brother, I can't do it anymore. Why? What was the difference between inside Ramadan and outside Ramadan? What was the difference? The difference was the environment. The difference was the environment. If the environment is so strong that it can affect big people like me and you, do you not think that it has a greater influence on young children whose mind and heart is clean? Don't you think it has more impact? Now, we adults, at least once a week for Jum'ah, we listen to some bayan, we listen to some greatness of Allah, some aspect of Sharia. Then we have any programs, we come and join. But have you imagined our Muslim children, what is their situation? Monday to Friday they're in school, so they don't come for Jum'ah. They will only come into the masjid when there is a party in the masjid, otherwise they don't come to the masjid. So listening to what Allah says, who is Allah, what is Jannah, what is Jahannam, what is Taharat, what is Salah, what is this? Tell me, who's going to teach them? Imagine. On the other hand, from first grade, they are taught things which would bring the curse of Allah on the earth. And I know you know what I'm talking about, right? Nowadays, the whole agenda that's going on, including the Disneys. Again, I'm not mentioning and don't mention it. I don't want anyone to Google it, remember. These kids are very smart. So they are being taught such things in their curriculum. Before it was subconscious, now they're directly being taught such things in school. things which Allah Ta'ala caused an entire city to go upside down and struck them into the earth. And they're normalizing them to the kids and desensitizing the kids to the extent that the confusion is so high. Before they were kind of confused whether they're Muslim or not. Today they're confused whether who they are. So that's one thing that's been taught in school. Then they're also taught is that we call it the secular school. Secular school means, you know what, keep your Allah in your house. Here there is no God. That is what's we call it a critical. I don't know if you guys know this, but the American education system is built on the critical, it's called critical thinking. What's it called? Critically thinking and critically analyzing. That means they will analyze everything critically to the extent that they will start questioning the existence of Allah. And I'm telling you, many kids they might come and pray Salah in the masjid also, but when you start digging inside and peeling the questions one by one, that kid is not very firm on his belief. And it is not his fault. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's not his fault. Why? Because 5 days a week he's in the environment in the morning from after Fajr all the way till the evening. After Fajr means 7, 8 o'clock until afternoon. Then he goes home because he's very tired from school. The parents say, okay, you know what, you have some electronics. So he has electronic time. Nowadays, based on the official survey, average kids are spending 3 to 5 hours on electronic every single day. 3 to 5 hours. And we adults who have jobs, even when we are browsing for long enough, then we also start doing other things. Even though our job is the computer. When these kids, they don't have jobs. So you think they're doing Microsoft learning programming? What are they doing when they have a computer? You know exactly what they're doing. Yes? Game? Work? Yeah, your father works on it. So if you ever touch a computer, only work, okay, nothing else. So can you understand? So environment in the school, environment when they come home. And then whatever time remaining, quickly finish your homework and go to sleep. You have to wake up for school next day. That is the life, day after day, day after day. Jummah is going, 1 Jummah, 2 Jummah, 3 Jummah, Salah, no Salah, nothing. Now, my respected brothers and sisters, you tell me, how does a child stay upon Islam after going through this environment? How is it possible? So every child you see sitting in the masjid today, if you ask me, I would say it's a miracle they're coming today. From the environment we threw them into, and they're still coming here today, it's a miracle. Now, my respected brothers and sisters, I was discussing the problem. Now I want you to pay very, very close attention as I'm going to discuss the solution. Why? Because you will have to, I can tell you the solution, but you'll have to walk the solution. I'm going to tell you the solution, I'm going to go back to New York. And then you have to do the work here. If you do it, inshallah, Allah Ta'ala will save your kids and their kids and their kids. If you don't do it, then Allah forbid, you might not even see Islam in your own kids or your grandkids. That's how important the subject is. So obviously, one part of the effort is at home. We should all endeavor to produce some Islamic environment at home. Remember, no one in the world can cover for that. You have time for everything else in the world. Make sure you keep some time for your children at home. Your wife, your children, your sons and daughters. Every day, what we call ta'aleem. Any book of hadith or tafsir that is reliable, ask the ulama, they'll tell you which books of hadith and tafsir are reliable. You open that, even if it's a book of seerah. You open that, and every day with your family, you do some discussion. Have some discussion. That is something no one else can do for you. You have to do it for yourself. That's one. The second is, you have to create, me and you, we have to create some type of an environment for our children. An environment which can be created only through education. Many times we think the environment is, you know what, take the youth and let's do some basketball games. Come on, man, they can see NBA. Why are they going to come and play basketball? Sometimes, let's take the youth and have some barbecue. They could go to a steakhouse, have better barbecue. Why would they want to go to a barbecue? You get it? So yes, it's better than nothing. Having these events sometimes is very important. I'm not saying it's not useful, it's useful. But it doesn't answer their questions. It doesn't work on educating them regarding who they are. So how do we educate them within the budget that we have, within the schedule that we have? How do we educate them? By doing what the Muslims of England did. By doing what the Muslims of England did. What did they do? When they built the masjids in 1950 and 1960, the Muslim community, all the parents got together and they started discussing that we don't have enough money to create an Islamic school where our kids will study Islam. So how are we going to teach our kids Islam? So they came up with a solution that, listen, since we are making a masjid, why don't we turn our masjid into a school? But how? That's when they came up with the idea of the after-school program. What do we call it? The after-school program. That's when it started. They would build a masjid with lots of classrooms. And when the Muslim community, when their children came back from school, they made sure that all their children came into the masjid, and there was grade-wise, they had their rooms, so grade-wise they would go and they would study Quran and Islamic studies every single day, aligned with their school. So if they were going to school 180 days a year, they were going to the after school in the masjid 180 days a year, minimum. What did they learn? They covered a variety of subjects. Nowadays, we call it the 10-subject program. That is what we are doing. This mezbah that brother just talked about. Yeah, Brother Ikram. He was talking about, what was it? Yeah. Yeah, we have the same program here, 4 days a week. What was it? We call it the 10-subject program. The children from kindergarten till 8th grade. And we are also working. We need them to be in the educational environment until 12th grade. Because we have gotten feedback from the Muslim communities. They said that until 7th, 8th grade, we kept them in the Muslim school, then we put them in public school within 4 years, as if they never went to Islamic school. So until now, we're working until 8th grade, but our intention is to build it up to 12th grade. So they study Quran, they memorize the surahs they require in their salah and their daily life. They memorize the kalimas and the du'as that a person needs in 24 hours life. They cover the aspects of fiqh, taharat, salah, halal, haram. They cover hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They cover seerah, the biography of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They cover tariq, Islamic history, history of the prophets and history of the recent Islamic history. Banu Umayyah, Banu Abbas, Muslims in Spain, the Crusaders, the Ottoman Empire. Then they cover akhlaq, Islamic character. Then they cover adab, etiquettes and manners, and they also learn how to read the Quran. 10 subjects. I just counted 10 subjects. So there's few things involved here. Number one is in our masjids, we have to build the program, which alhamdulillah we have in this masjid. Number two, we have to make sure that there is, alhamdulillah, I feel the quality here is decent. Because they have exams, and as you have seen the recitation of the Quran, they were pretty decent of the children, mashallah. And then we have to make sure we are bringing in our kids on a daily level, bringing them on time and taking them home on time, and making sure we are tracking what progress is being made in the maktab, because this program is after school. We call it the maktab program. The teachers are filling out the reports every single day. We gave them templates where they write how much Quran was done today, what did they cover in Islamic studies, what was their grades, did they come wearing the uniform, how many salah they prayed. Inshallah, we have to have dinner, right? Dinner, inshallah?
If everybody is agree, then after Isha, I think that will.
After Isha is better?
Okay. So you can continue 10-15.
Okay. So the after school program. So in 1982, some brothers from India, they traveled to England. They said that we were sitting in the masjid in Birmingham, and suddenly around 4:35 p.m., we suddenly heard a whole roar of children. You know when children come, like after when the school gives off, have you ever heard when the school gives off and the kids are coming out, what time, mashallah, a lot of sound going on. So they say that suddenly in the masjid we heard sound, as if lots of kids were coming in. So the Maulana, he says that I started asking the local brothers that, do you guys have some type of an inventory? All these kids are coming in. So they were like, no, this is the after school program. So he was like, oh, after school, mashallah. So what is after school? Like, no, these kids, they come every single day. Whenever they go to school, they come to the masjid. So he was saying, I started wondering that, oh, how many kids? So he asked them that, oh, in this masjid, how many kids come to study in the after school? So the brothers replied that 3,200. How many? 3,200. More than even majority of the Muslim schools in America. Very few Muslim schools in America that have 3,200 Muslim kids. So the Sheikh said, I thought that maybe the entire city of Birmingham, maybe all the Muslims are coming here. So he was asking that, okay, how many other masjids do you have in Birmingham? It's one city of England. In those days, they said we have another 7 masjids. So he said that, oh, so you have only one after school in all the 7 masjids? But no, all 7 masjids have 7 after school programs. And he says, oh, so there's not many kids there, right? No, he says, all the masjids are full. This is 1982. So now let me tell you the results, right? You're probably wondering, where is all this going? Let me tell you the results. The results is in America, Muslim population started surging from 1970 till today, 2022, about 50 years. In 50 years, we were able to lose 30% of our population, and from the remaining 70, 60% have confusions. We're barely hanging on to about 30% of our youth. And in England, in the last, not 30 years, 50 years, because the Muslims there joined in 1940 and 1950. So they're now on their 70th year. In England, although they have been there for 70 years, they have barely lost 1 or 2% of their population. Barely. 70 years means they're in their 6th generation. That means if the father came, then now his great-grandchildren or great-great-grandchildren are now growing up. And the grandfather, the school he went to, the masjid he went to, the great-grandson is going through the same program. So when we went for training, we asked these brothers that if these kids are going to school in the morning and then they're coming into the masjid for the after school, then when do they do their homework? And does it affect their academics? Because I know most of us are concerned about academics, even though it has nothing to do with our Jannah and Jahannam, but somehow we are very concerned about academics. It's good, not bad. But if we are so concerned that we're compromising Islam, then that's bad. And that's what's happening in most cases, that we are compromising Islam for the sake of making sure we know very good math. So it's a very cheap bargain we're making. Anyway. So I asked them that, is it affecting their academics? So the brothers, they gave me a very strange answer. They said, no. Forget about affecting. Based on our calculation, the kids who study in our programs until 7th grade, they call it class 7, we have seen when they give their O levels, because in England you have O levels and A levels, you don't have 12th grade and 10th grade, right? So when they give their O levels, they're required to give an exam on 11 subjects. They said that in the 11 subjects, those who stayed in our program till 7th grade, we usually find them getting 7 or 8 A's out of 11. And I said that, what about those who stayed longer? They said the students who stayed in our program until 9th grade, we found majority of them getting all 11 out of 11 A's. So I asked them, how is that possible? They said, oh, barakah of the Quran. So I said, definitely you're right, it is barakah of the Quran. But then obviously with barakah of the Quran, you also want to do some math, right? So now we start doing the math. That mathematically, how does that make mathematical sense or logical sense? So then we came across a news article that said that average American kids were spending 3 hours to 5 hours behind electronics every day. So then we realized that the kids who were coming to the after school, because they were having a change of environment and they were coming into the environment of the masjid. So coming and going takes another 1 hour, and here they are for 2 hours. So about 3 hours every day. So the 3 hours they would have spent on electronics would damage their eyes and their brains. That damage they're being saved from every single day. Do you get it? 1-2 days doesn't make a difference, but when you're doing it day after day, day after day after day, do you understand how that's having a positive impact on them? Because of this, their time was being saved. Because of this, their time was being saved. And because of this, they were getting higher in the academics. So on one side, it was saving their iman. On one side, it was raising their academic standards. So may Allah Ta'ala give us to understand what we're discussing. Now, I'm going to end up by mentioning three very simple, the base level of benefit that you will get by bringing your children into the after-school program. First benefit is, I'm going to tell you a story. 2 days ago, there is a masjid. What we do is we have an organization as well. So we help masjids, especially in New York, because I live in New York. So we have a place called Long Island. It's a very long, it's a skinny and very long. From one end to the other is about 2 hours of drive. It's a very long island. It's technically very long. So there's about 30 major masajid. So we have tried to establish the maktab in majority of the bigger masajid. So recently I went for our weekly meetings. We have weekly staff meetings. So I went to one of the masjids, and after Maghrib, the Mufti, he's walking up the stairs and I'm walking behind him. And on top of the stairs, there is a young boy, probably around his age. What's your name? Yeah? What's your name? Zain. About Zain's age. Huh? 12, yes. About 12. So the young boy is on the top of the stairs and we're walking up, and in the bottom of the stairs is that young boy's older brother. So it was after Maghrib, so the older brother is saying, hey, come, let's go home. And the younger brother upstairs on the top of the stairs is saying, no, I took permission from dad. He said I can stay here till Isha. And the young brother is looking at him, and the kid is saying this, and he runs inside the masjid, second floor. So I'm wondering, this boy, instead of going home to play video games, he would rather stay in the masjid. I'm wondering, how did that happen? So I asked Mufti Rafiq, I think Mufti, how long has this young boy been in the masjid? He was like, he's been here ever since he was so high. He's always here. Did you understand? So the first benefit that you have when the kids are coming consistently 4 or 5 days a week to the masjid is they build an attachment and connection with the masjid. They would rather be in the masjid than be home doing something else. That's one basic benefit. And I'm telling you, if I was to only take this one benefit, this is enough to save this child's iman. Let's talk about the second basic benefit. Okay, in this masjid, there's after school book. Can you raise your hand if you go to after school in this masjid? Any of you come to after school in this masjid? Any of you boys or girls? Any of you? No one from the after school is here? No one? Your child is after school? Where's your child? She's in the girls' side? No one, what about no one else? How am I supposed to do this? Many on the woman's side? I need to ask a question to one of the children. Any child who comes in after school. None of you guys go from the after school? Okay, inshallah, next time I come, I want to see a larger number, inshallah. Say inshallah. Inshallah, all of you will come, inshallah, okay? Say inshallah. So now say, look, it's fun, we're having fun, right? So no one is here, but every masjid that I go to when there's after school, if I ask any child that who's your friend, then usually the child points to the person next to me and says, he's my friend. If I ask the other person who's your friend, he says, he's my friend. If I ask a girl, she's my friend. If I ask that girl, she's my friend. So we heard the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? That an-nasu ala dini khalilihi, ar-rajulu ala dini khalilihi, falyanzur ahadukum man yukhalil. That a person is on the deen of his friend. So each of you should be very careful whom you choose as your friend. So the second benefit is the Muslim children of the community who come to the after school, they become friends with the other Muslim children who also come to after school. And which children come to after school whose parents are concerned about their deen. So you see how your child grows a social circle of other children who has the same mindset, other families who have the same mindset. So that is the second benefit, which will also one day save their iman, because it will save them from becoming friends with those people who will create doubts into their hearts regarding Islam. And the third basic benefit is, because they are learning 10 subjects, Quran and Islamic studies, they are gaining the foundation of Islam so that they know why they are Muslim, they know who they are and what they are. And they know what is expected of them. So inshallah, which kid? Ubaidullah? What's his name? Huzaifa, come here. Assalamu alaikum. Huzaifa, what's your friend's name? Adiba. Adiba comes is your classmate. Where is Adiba? She came today?
She's in the thing.
She also studies with you after school?
She comes to mine.
She comes to your house. Adiba also studies in after school, right? MashaAllah. Is it? Adiba comes to after school and his friend is Adiba. Did you understand? Did you understand? His friend is Adiba because they both come to after school. That's why. Come on, MashaAllah. It's a good job. See, I didn't teach the child. I just put him on the spot. So that's what I'm saying. So there is no limit to how much benefit there is by bringing your children here. And don't bring them when they're 5 and take them when they're 7. They need to be part of this program until they reach 12 grade. That's when they gain an understanding of what is right and what is wrong. Then no matter what happens, if someone tells them something different, they will come and ask their teacher. The teacher, my classmate or my friend, someone, they asked me this question regarding Islam. Can you tell me the answer? I want to go and tell them the answer. And this guy, he goes into a defensive mode. Now he wants to prove himself to be right. Because you have built the foundation in the child. And I'm telling you, if you don't do this, then you will have, it doesn't matter how many salah we pray and how many hajj we do. I'm telling you, brother. Please understand. It's not about how many hajj me and you do, it's about what environment our children are growing up in. We have to do work on them according to their environment, not according to my environment. That's a big mistake we make. We are doing the work on them thinking of we're thinking of ourselves, we're thinking we're still back home. We're not here yet. These kids are here. So may Allah Ta'ala give us the tawfiq to inshallah understand what has been discussed. And please make a firm intention that inshallah we'll bring our kids to the program. We'll develop the program, make it stronger. And also you have an imam, right? You have imam? No. So inshallah we'll have the imam oversee and support the program so it can grow inshallah. May Allah Ta'ala accept from all of us and all of you. Jazakumullah. Make a dua. What dua should I make, young guys? What dua should I make? You guys should make today. Anyone, what dua should I make? You guys don't know what dua should I make? Huh? You guys don't have any choices? Huh? Young brothers, you have to be under 18 and below to tell me what dua I can make. Today is your guys' day. Yes, tell me. What dua should I make? Come here. What dua should I make? What dua should I make today? What dua should I say? What dua? What dua should I make? What should I ask you? Make all of us have the Quran. MashaAllah. 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 Who's the father of this child? MashaAllah. Allah give you a good daughter. May Allah make her pious. She becomes the fullness of your eyes, inshallah. She made one dua for all of you who rolled, man. You guys are all in trouble now. We'll make dua and all of you better become hafiz. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما صليت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم انك حميد مجيد. جزا الله عنا محمدا صلى الله عليه وسلم ما هو اهله. الحمد لله الذي فضلنا على كثير من عباده المؤمنين. يا ذا الجلال والإكرام يا أرحم الراحمين. لا إله إلا الله الحليم الكريم. سبحان الله رب العرش العظيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم إنا نسألك موجبات رحمتك وعزائم مغفرتك والغنيمة من كل بر والسلامة من كل إثم. اللهم لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا كربا إلا نفسته ولا دينا إلا قضيته ولا مريضا إلا شفيته ولا حاجة من حوائج الدنيا والآخرة هي لك رضا إلا قضيتها يا أرحم الراحمين. Ya Allah, our young brothers and young sisters, and also the parents and also the elders, they have all made intention that we want to save the Iman and the Deen of our generation. Ya Allah, accept all of their intention. Ya Allah, we also have made the intention of establishing the educational program for our children and youth, and also to establish the environment of Deen in our homes. Ya Allah, accept it from all of us and make it possible for us to implement this, inshallah. Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, our young child came and said that to make dua that Allah make all of us here to Hafiz of Quran, practicing Hafiz of Quran. Ya Allah, accept from this child, and Ya Allah, make all of our youth and our elderly, all of us Hafiz of Quran. Allow us to memorize the Quran before we leave the dunya. Allow us to become the carriers of the Quran. Allow us to bring the Quran alive into our lives, and allow us to become a means of this Quran and this Sunnah spreading throughout humanity in the day of Qiyamah. Ya Allah, save us and our generations and keep them firm upon Deen and Iman. Ya Allah, take the work of Iman and Deen from them until the day of Qiyamah. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين آمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.